You're listening to the Sales Success Stories podcast, where we deconstruct world-class sales performers to provide insights and strategies to help you improve. To learn more, visit us at top1.fm. Here's your host, Scott Ingram.
Actually, I'm just the co-host of this episode, as I'm joined today by my very good friend, Tom Singer. I thought it was only appropriate that he join me in this special episode where we announce the Sales Success Summit, since he'll be co-hosting the event with me. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Hey, Scott, thanks for having me.
So, Tom, why don't we start by having you introduce yourself and your role in the event? And much like the plan for the event, I'm pretty much going to let you take over the hosting duties from there.
Well, so my background, Scott, is I was a sales guy. I mean, I started my career, I was a 100% commission salesperson. I ended up going into kind of a hybrid sales, marketing, biz dev role for many, many years and loved it. I mean, that was, I think that sales is the lifeblood of everything. I always say to anybody who is questioning a sales career, there is no business if there isn't a great sales team. So, that's sort of my background and my core. But for the last, almost 9 years now, I have made my living as a professional sort of motivational speaker and master of ceremonies. So I run events. It's what I do for a living. I think I've done already 70 events in 2017. I'll probably top the year out around 80 events between speaking and master of ceremonies and some training events that I do in between. And so that's sort of who I am. What, I hope to bring to this conference is, really to get everybody fired up and excited and make sure that they maximize their investment of time and money to be able to come to Austin and participate in this event, because it's going to be awesome. And, people can already find out about it. Then go over to the website at top1, that's the number one, summit.com. And of course, there's going to be information on your main site, top1.fm. So, Scott, let's back up. What inspired you to plan this event? I mean, planning an event's a big undertaking and always a labor of love. What caused you to want to do this?
Well, in a lot of ways, it's the same reason I started this podcast about a year ago, right? All of the content that I've been consuming for years and years was coming from quote unquote sales experts who really haven't sold anything but themselves in years or decades. And I wanted to hear from and get directly to the people who were number one or top 1% and capture what it was that they're doing. Similarly, I found that in the event space, if you were to do a Google search for the best events for sales professionals or something along those lines, you'll find lists of 16 and 25 different events where basically zero of them are really focused on the quota carrying individual contributor. They're really designed for the sales leader, sales enablement, sales operations, marketing entrepreneurs. There's sort of everybody but those of us who are carrying a bag, have a quota, and are responsible for delivering the sales. So I figured it was about time that there was an event for sales professionals by sales professionals. And, it's also just about bringing people together. It's one thing to listen to a podcast and absorb the information that way, but it's a whole different thing to be in the same room, to have a dialogue, to really be able to connect and learn from each other. And I thought, the fans of my show have provided a lot of great feedback on what would be valuable to them. And this was very, very high on that list. And I thought, I get an opportunity to spend incredible time and have amazing conversations with the folks who've been guests on my show and have built relationships with them. And I get a lot of really, really valuable mentoring value from that. And I wanted to share that. And they want to share that too. I've really found that this group of people who have invested the time to come on the show are about giving back. And so this is an opportunity for all of us to really come together and learn from each other and just take it to another level.
Well, Scott, it's really interesting when you talk about that the conferences that are out there are really geared towards sales management. You're right. And I mean, the large companies, and I speak a lot at like sales rallies for big companies. Big companies have these types of meetings where they bring all their salespeople, or at least their top performers, together to give them the education, the networking, to get them sort of fired up about the different things they could do. But there isn't. I remember when I was a salesperson, I worked for large companies, but I also worked for more what I would call entrepreneurial ventures, sort of smaller growth-oriented companies. And those companies didn't have the money or really even the bandwidth to put on that type of event. They didn't have enough people or probably enough money to invest in doing it. So you lost out on that sort of sales motivation and education that really came from being part of those, 2,000 person sales companies. So it's really a great idea because this doesn't necessarily exist out there. Now, I also speak at a lot of association events, like professional associations for all different types of industries. And there's really not a professional salesperson's association. I mean, I'm sure there is something out there, but I don't ever remember stumbling upon anything when, I was a quota carrying salesperson that was really sort of the ideal place to gather that was both affordable and full of the actual value and information. So you may have just stumbled onto something that's really important, because I tell people all the time in every walk of life, it doesn't matter what industry or what their job title is, I tell people one of the smartest things that you can do is to get involved with your trade association in your industry. And I think that's true for salespeople, but those associations aren't always salesperson focused. They're sort of focused towards sort of the executive side of the industry. But even so, I think salespeople should be participating in their trade associations, because getting around people who are like you, who have similar jobs to you, only can inspire you. Having friends inside your industry is great. But I think that this conference is going to fill that little gap for the person who is really hungry to continue to grow their sales career. So I'm really excited about sort of what you've done. And I know that you're really trying to create an experience for the people who attend. So would you take a minute and talk a little bit about some of the unique things that you're trying to do and how you're trying to structure this event so people walk away saying, wow?
Yeah. In a lot of ways, I'm just trying to solve for the things that drive me crazy in the events that I attend over the course of a year. And of course, these are more events in my industry, right? These are marketing technology events and things like that. So they're not exactly geared towards sales. But I think with any event, the experience you have is it's in a hotel conference room. You sit in an uncomfortable chair that's connected to the chair next to it and kind of this big row. And, I wanted to break that paradigm entirely. So we are going to host the event at the Alamo Drafthouse.
Ooh,
and
I like
so
that.
For those who don't know, the Alamo Drafthouse is a local Austin theater chain. Got started here. I think they've started to branch out a little bit. And we do things a little bit more unique in Austin. And they were one of the first chains years ago that started this concept of kind of a full service type of theater. So in front of your seat is a table and there's a full menu, and you can order food throughout the movie. Servers will come and bring you food. And I thought, hey, that would make for a really fun conference experience. What if I could sit in a really comfortable movie theater chair, order food and drinks, whether I need caffeine in the morning to kind of get going. Maybe I want a little bit of alcohol in the afternoon to really enjoy myself. And, you've got an opportunity to watch presentations on a movie theater screen because, well, heck, it's a movie theater. So that's a big part of it, is just getting out of the box of a typical conference and changing the venue up a little bit. And then really allowing the time to connect. If we're serious about building relationships and finding mentors and people who are going to help you take it to the next level, then we can't have a day that is presentation where you don't have a chance to connect. So we will never have more than 90 minutes of content in a row without taking a 30-minute break to allow people to interact and engage and continue the conversation. And after that first full day, we'll have a hosted happy hour at the Highball, which the Alamo Drafthouse owns. We literally have to walk through a wall. Well, there's a door in the wall, but we'll walk through that. And then the thing that I'm maybe most excited about is we're going to do a dine around. And we've basically picked out about a dozen Austin iconic restaurants, and everybody will have the opportunity to find kind of that right combination of what sort of food do you want? Do you want Austin barbecue? Do you want some Tex-Mex? We'll have a whole variety of price points. So if you want to go to the 5-star sushi restaurant in town called Uchi, that's amazing, you'll have that opportunity. But it's really about getting smaller groups of people together. The goal here is about 10 to 12 people at a dinner with at least one of the presenters so that you have a chance to interact in a really, really meaningful way. Again, this isn't just about the content, it's about the connections.
So, you brought up a couple of points there. And number one is sort of the value of building those networks with other people who have similar type roles to you. I mean, obviously people will be selling different types of products and services, but, just being around people who, know what you go through as a salesperson is awesome, because you can always, if you build real friendships, you have people you can call on who can help talk you through things. The other thing that I've found is when people get together with people of similar type interests and similar type jobs, it also leads to opportunities. I mean, the reality is that I know people who've had extremely successful sales careers who it's like, oh, how did you get your job? Oh, well, my friend went to work for company X, and as the company grew, he recruited me in. So if you work for a company that's growing, you might be able to find somebody, who is awesome in sales that you can bring in later, or vice versa. And not that, people are looking to move, but we all know how the world works. Companies come and go, and opportunities change. The whole idea of being well connected with people at your own level who understand what your strengths are, if you don't do that, you're letting opportunities walk by. So I think that's the first reason. If anybody's listening to this and, they know that they still have, 10, 20, 30 years ahead of them in their career, they had dang well better want to build these types of relationships now, because you just never know when you're going to be in need or when you're going to have a need. And knowing someone is an awesome salesperson, I always say salespeople can always work. If you're good, you'll always have a job. But if you hide, or you just, all you have, the only way people can ever know you exist is because you have a LinkedIn profile, that's not going to lead to the type of opportunities that you want. So I think that's a great reason to come. The second thing is you mentioned sort of the presenters that you're going to have. Talk a little more for just a minute. I know that, you haven't released the whole list of everybody who's going to be presenting, but talk a little bit about who those people are in general and what information they're going to bring. Because there's two reasons people come to conferences like this. And number one is always the networking opportunities. I don't care what industry you're in. But then number two is the education. So talk about the high level education that you're going to present.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you said, the details are still a work in progress here, a little more than 6 months out, but I'm happy to give kind of some details about those who are committed and kind of what the draft titles of their talks are. But I also want to say that we're going to gather input from particularly the early registrants to continue to really fine tune the program and understand what are the biggest challenges that they're having today, so that we're addressing a lot of those things. But let's do this in the order of appearance on the podcast, so folks can go back and listen to their episodes to get a feel for what they're about. So we start with the star of my very first episode, which was Mike Dudgeon from LinkedIn. And Mike is probably going to be talking about something along the lines of generating valuable insights to massively grow accounts. Mike does a great job of really understanding who his clients are and what's going to bring value to them. And he has a process for that. So I think he's going to share the details of what that are. Justin Bridgmohan is going to present Prescriptive Selling, Leading Your Prospective Customers Through Their Buying Process. Debbie Rapson, who is the queen of discovery, is going to present Digging for Gold, The Art and Science of Deep Discovery. DeJuan Brown is going to present Success Through Service. Jacqueline Nicholson has an amazing perspective and is going to talk about standing on the shoulders of giants, coaches, mentors, and you. David Weiss, we're still working through this one, but he will present some combination of sales process, prospecting, and executive conversations, the things that he is most passionate about. And then Trong Nguyen is going to walk us through how to crack the largest enterprise customers. So that's just the start. We'll certainly be adding more. And I'm also going to set up a couple of panels. One will be around career progression. Tom, as you said, I mean, most of these folks, we've got 10 or 30 more years to work through this industry. So do you continue in this individual contributor role and move into higher and higher, high 6-figure, maybe even 7-figure type of sales opportunities? Do you move over into a sales leadership type of role? So we're going to build a panel with folks who have been in all of those different places and can help you sort of make that decision and also figure out how to position yourself to take that next step. And then I'm going to keep a slot open on the second day where we'll either bring back the most popular presenter for a Q&A, or maybe we'll do like an ad hoc panel to address one of the biggest challenges or other themes that have emerged through the show. So we'll continue to keep it dynamic and not lock ourselves into anything so that we can deliver the most amount of value possible.
I really like that idea of keeping a panel slot open to kind of go on the fly. I rarely see that at conferences that I go to. And in fact, sometimes like within an industry, like 4 months out, there'll be something that happens. And I'll hear meeting organizers say, oh, I wish I could have someone speak on that topic, but I don't have any room in my agenda. I think leaving it open until that day is brilliance because, audiences, when we get together with this group, we're creating a little mini society at the Alamo Drafthouse for those 2 days. And societies have things that happen within them. There's things bubble up, things come to the top. So I think you're genius for doing that. And I think that should excite people who want to be there because they know that at least for that one spot and certainly at other places, they're going to have some input on what's going to happen. So this is something that doesn't happen at, I would say, 99% of the events I go to. The curriculum is determined sometimes 6 months or a year in advance. And I think what you've done is a really, really good idea. I love serendipity at events. When I interview people who attend all types of events, they always tell me that the best part of going are those serendipitous hallway conversations, or those things that they didn't plan for, those people they meet, or the things that happen on stage where even the presenter didn't plan. And yet I rarely see event organizers actually have what I call planned serendipity. So I think the fact that you've worked that in is one of the most exciting things of why people should be signing up for this. So Scott, when is this event?
Yeah, so the event is May 7th and 8th, and we chose those dates very, very strategically. So on purpose, those are in the middle of a quarter, at the beginning of a month. It's also Monday and Tuesday, and we did that for a couple of reasons. One, to help with the justification, because you're probably going to go to your boss and ask to be able to expense this. That's what I would do. And we wanted to minimize the disruption to your selling time and the time that you're just out of the field. But it also creates a great excuse. Austin is an amazing town. And we wanted to set this up so that, if you wanted to fly out on Friday and spend the weekend in Austin, this is perfect. Do that and then come join us Monday morning, and we'll run Monday through Tuesday afternoon and leave time. We'll probably wrap up around 1 or 2 in the afternoon on Tuesday to give people a chance to get to flights Tuesday afternoon. So great excuse to do that. We also set it up that way so that if somebody wants to bring their team out, it really positions itself nicely for a QBR. And for those that don't know the vernacular, it's a quarterly business review. So you might spend the first day and a half, Monday, Tuesday morning with us, and then bring your team together for Tuesday afternoon and Wednesday and do that. So, we're happy to help with some of those arrangements. I've got a great team behind me. So if that is something that you wanted to do, send me an email, reach out to Scott at top1.fm with some details around what you're hoping to accomplish, and we'll see if we can't help make that work for you.
And you are so right. I hear from people all the time. Part of my introduction when I speak is people say, oh, and they tell all the stuff that you would say in a speaker's bio. And the last lines is Tom and his wife, make their home in Austin, Texas. And I'll go on stage and I'll speak for an hour. And then afterwards, people come up to meet me. And I think they're going to say, oh, you said something brilliant in your speech. And they'll be like, I've always wanted to go to Austin, Texas. And I'm like, I spoke for an hour in between them saying Austin and now. But people get fascinated if they've never been. I meet people on airplanes who say, oh, I've always wanted to go to Austin. I hear it's a fun town. I hear it's a great town. I hear the food there is fantastic. So I think setting it up on a Monday and Tuesday so that people can take advantage of that weekend in Austin. Plus, let's face it, May is the time, 1st of May is the time to come. If you're going to come to Austin, you don't want to come in August. So, the weather's going to be great and it's going to be fun and there's going to be things that you can do. There's always festivals and things happening around this town. So I think it's smart to position it when you did, and the fact that it's early in the month, nobody's under that quota pressure of closing things out or closing out the quarter. You've really thought this through. And again, that idea about, hey, let's do our team meeting. If you've got 3 or 4 salespeople, bring them all and then, go get a little conference room or just take them to the Starbucks down the street and spend the rest of the day sort of debriefing what you heard. For a small company who can't afford to do a big giant event, this is the best of both worlds. So I think that is absolutely fantastic idea. So let's delve a little deeper. Really, who is the ideal person to come to this summit?
Yeah. So Tom, it's really, I think, going to be valuable for anybody in sales, but it's really geared towards the individual contributor. I mean, we are really, really committed to that. So whether you're in field sales, you're inside sales, or some type of SDR type of role, if you have a quota, this event is really for you. It's also going to be skewed really heavily towards B2B sales. So though we'll have at least a couple of B2C presenters, I think those in the B2B type of roles are probably going to benefit the most. I think this is also really relevant for a smart sales leader who wants to understand what makes ultra high performers tick, so that they can bring some of those nuggets back to their team and into their style and the way that they work. Of course, ideally, I'd really hope that they come and just bring their team with them so their team can experience that directly. But that's who this is for.
So if people are interested, what should they do now?
Well, they should register, Tom.
How do they do that?
So, we're going to offer the very best price through December 15th. And like these things go, we'll continue to increase that price a little bit as the event gets closer. But if you go to top1summit.com, if you use the referral code SSS for Sales Success Stories, you'll get an additional $150 discount off of the current price. So again, obviously, the sooner you register, the better price, but also the more input you'll have into the programming. Like I said, we are going to do a lot of surveying to understand who is it that is coming to this event and continue to fine tune and tweak the programming to make sure that they have an incredible experience. And if you're not quite ready yet, that's fine. At least get on the mailing list so we can send you updates as the event continues to develop.
But I imagine, and I actually know, that an event like this, it's not unlimited space. Obviously, because we're doing it in a theater, there's a finite number of seats that we can have. It's not like a ballroom where they can blow out sort of an extra wall and expand the ballroom to the next room. Space is limited. So what does that look like?
Yeah, good point, Tom. So for this event, we're actually going to use just a single screen in the theater. Again, very intentionally, especially in this first year, I want to keep things smaller, more intimate, drive these connections and make it valuable for folks in that way. What that means is the largest auditorium in the Alamo Drafthouse, once we account for the presenters and the staff and the other folks that are going to be there helping me support the event and this experience, we probably only can accommodate about 150 people beyond that. So certainly there's a risk that we sell out if you wait too long, but I don't know when that'll happen.
Well, and I know that there's going to be some companies that bring teams that might be 3, 4, and 5 people. I mean, you start running those numbers, that becomes a small number of companies. So the idea is register soon if you want to attend.
That's a good suggestion.
So I actually, Scott, I'm excited to be part of this. I think this is going to be a great event. I love it when event organizers are really, really focused on creating unique experiences, because events are more than, PowerPoint and talking heads. And you've really put a lot of thought into this. So I'm really excited. And if people are interested in coming, they really now should jump over to what is it? It's top1summit.com and make sure that you get registered. Use that event code SSS in order to get the best price possible. And we're going to see you in May in Austin, Texas at the Sales Success Summit.
Thanks, Tom. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks for listening to the Sales Success Stories podcast. To be sure you never miss an episode, and for an invitation to our sales success community powered by Influitive, subscribe to our newsletter at top1.fm.